Hi everyone, welcome to Must Read Monday. My name is Dabney. I'm the Young Adult Librarian at the Twin Lakes Library System and I use they, them pronouns. For today's episode, I am going to be talking to you all about 4 young adult books that focus on politics, voting, elections, etc. And 2 of these books I have talked about previously in some other videos, but I'm going to touch on them again because they're both really great and relevant. And so the reason I chose the topic, of course, is because tomorrow is election day. So if you are watching and you are 18 and older, I just really want to encourage you all to go out and vote tomorrow if you haven't already voted through early voting or submitting an absentee ballot. Please vote. It's important. And that is what all these books I'm going to be talking to you all about today are about. They're about the importance of voting and being involved with politics and activism. And they're all, really different and diverse, and I think they're all amazing. And they're just like 4, like I mentioned, but there's a whole lot more that you could read, like other books that have come out this year or in the last couple years about voting and politics, and I'll have a list in the video if you want to check those out. And these are all these books are in our collection, our young adult collection, and some of them are also on Hoopla. I do remember that these 2, I believe, are on Hoopla. I'll have that also in the video notes. I know I listened to this one on Hoopla. So yeah, we'll get started. And this is one I read this week. So You Say It First by Katie Cotugno. And in this book, both of the characters are 18, so they are old enough to vote. But Meg, she is really politically active. She volunteers. I can't remember if she volunteers or if she gets paid for it. But anyway, she goes to work for We Count, and they are like a nonpartisan organization that calls people to see if they are registered to vote, and if they're not, they help walk them through the process to get them registered. And she calls Colby's house one night, and she's actually trying to speak with Colby's father and doesn't know that his father had passed away recently. And so, Colby's already not in the best mood. He's not having a good day, and then this random stranger calls him up and wants to speak to his dead father, and it's about voting, and he's just, really annoyed with it and annoyed by her approach and just everything about her. And they end up getting into this kind of contentious, discussion about voting and politics that basically becomes like an argument. And, afterwards, Meg feels really bad because Colby tells her what happened to his dad, and she just, feels awful about it and ends up leaving him a voicemail with her number because she wants to apologize. And he calls her back, and they end up, just texting and calling and developing this relationship, long distance relationship over the phone. And both of them are kind of, as it's happening, a little bit confused about why they're still talking to this stranger that they may never meet. And they're both very different from each other. But the thing about the relationship is they can both be very real and honest in a way that they feel like they can't be with their friends and their family. And so yeah, things happen from there. This book does deal with some pretty heavy topics. And I think I'd been reading, some people looked at this cover and thought oh, this was going to be a really cute, fluffy rom-com, and it's not. To me, it's more of there is a romance, but it feels more like the focus is on other things going on in their lives. And I don't know, I really liked that. I appreciated it. And even though they meet up through the We Count phone calls, politics is important in the book, but it's not like the driving force behind the plot. So Meg continues to be really involved, and as the book goes on, Colby's kind of challenging her and asking her, like, you know, are you really making a difference through what you're doing? Like, what are you actually planning to do with your life? And, like, how committed are you to, like, these ideals that you've based your life around? And, you know, Meg kind of working through, like, what she actually thinks and believes and how she can really be involved. And I don't know, I thought it was cool. And, you know, she's like a very empowered character, and even though she has like these very strong beliefs, it is interesting to read about her really internalizing, you know, walking the walk and talking the talk, and, you know, standing up for herself. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So another book that kind of has a political meet cute to it is The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert. And this one, like I said, I listened to this one on Hoopla, and it takes like place in the space of one day. So 2 character points of view, just like you say it first. You've got Duke and Marva, and so they actually meet at on election day at their polling place. And so, you know, they're going to go vote before school, and Marva has been like super heavily involved with like politics and activism, and she knows her stuff about voting, and she, you know, is helped register people to vote. And so she gets there early. I don't know if she's first in line, but she's there really early, and she votes. And then she notices that Duke is having some difficulties at the table, like when he came in. And so she goes over to kind of figure out like what's going on and see if she can help him. And they find out that he's not registered to vote at that polling location. And, you know, Marva gets like very intense. She's a very intense character, but she's all like, okay, we're gonna get you to vote. She's like, basically, they take the day off of school, and their mission is to get Duke to vote, no matter what. And lots of things happen in this one day. You would be surprised. And so, yeah, this book is about voting. It's also got themes about like voter suppression and, you know, people's rights. And it was just like really, really gripping and good. And I don't know, rambling a little bit, but yeah. So this one was really good. And one thing I like is kind of like with all these books, there's a contrast between the characters. But like I said, Marva is very much into politics, but Duke is too. But he's coming at it from like a different perspective, which is that his brother, who is deceased, was really, really politically active, and so Duke's family has a lot of expectations for him to live up to. And so at first, I think, you know, Marva kind of thinks that Duke doesn't really know that much about politics or whatever, and he's like, actually, so they have lots of good conversations too about that. So I kind of like how, you know, these 2 books have those kind of things in common. And then another kind of meet cute political book is Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli, and Aisha Saeed. So I've talked about this one before, but both of these authors live in Georgia, up in the Atlanta area, so that's really cool. And this book is kind of based on their experiences when they were helping campaign for a candidate and going door to door to, talk to people. So that's what happens in this book with our main characters, Jamie and Maya. So Jamie's family is really involved with the senator candidate's campaign. Like, I think his mom, I don't remember if his mom runs it or if it's his cousin, but like his whole family is really involved. And, he does a lot of volunteering work for this, but he's not confident about going in door to door and canvassing. Like, that's just not his thing. And then Maya ends up volunteering there, so she's trying to volunteer in order to have her parents get her a car. So at first she's not like super invested in it, but so they meet and they start canvassing together. So anyways, lots of stuff happens in this book, and it does have like a pretty heavy like political theme as far as like the plot, but there's also like all these books have like lots of other stuff going on. But one thing that's really interesting is, like they say in the summary, that this is the cross-cultural crush of the century, which Maya, her family is Muslim and Jamie's family is Jewish, and they just have different backgrounds, but yeah, them coming together and working on this, and I don't know, it was really, really delightful. And it shows, one thing I really like about it is shows how teens who are, not old enough to vote yet can still be really involved in activism. So it's a good one. And then my final book is Running by Natalia Sylvester. And one thing that sets this one apart from all the others is there is not romance, there's not a love story in this, and it is very much about Mari and her family, because her dad is running for president. So her family is Cuban American, they live in Miami, and while it's not like explicitly said like what party her father is running for, it's definitely like a conservative platform. And so Mari's been growing up with her dad being involved in politics like her entire life, and she has a younger brother, and when they're younger, like their mom kind of kept them like out of the spotlight, but now that their dad is running for president, there's a lot more pressure for them to be involved and like to do interviews and all this stuff. And Mari just gets like, she cannot do an interview. Like, it's just, she gets way too like anxious and sick just even thinking about it. But with the campaign ramping up, it's like her dad's not really listening to her, and her mom's just giving in to whatever her dad says, and her little brother's just like, oh, this is great, and she's like, it's not great, I don't want to do this. And things kind of like take a turn for her when she meets like this one girl in her school who's like really like politically active and is like an activist and is kind of like speaking out against Mari's father and like wants her to kind of say something, and she's like, no. And at first she doesn't want to be involved with this girl and her group of friends at all. But things, like I said, things kind of take a turn and change, and she starts learning that what her dad has always said he's for doesn't actually match up with his policies. And it's kind of like this big disillusionment for her, and she has to decide if she's going to kind of continue to support him now that she knows what he's actually about, or if she's going to speak out against him. And so that's kind of like the crux of the book. So it's not really about romance or anything like that, which I kind of appreciated. It was just more of like an intense kind of study of her as a character and her family, and kind of the pressures that families are under when they're involved in politics. And yeah, and as somebody who, well, I'm not going to get into personal stuff, so never mind. Forget I was going to go that way, but let's just say I related a lot to certain parts of her story and found it really compelling. Like, I started reading it Thursday night, and I like barely put it down because I was like so anxious and worked up over like what was actually going to happen and like what she was going to do. And so yeah, this was like a one evening read for me. And again, this is another book that demonstrates ways that teens can be involved. So, you know, even though I think she's 15 in the book, and then her friends who are kind of leading this activist organization within her school, they're seniors and like upperclassmen. But you know, some of the other students are like under 18 as well, and they find ways to get involved with either like volunteering at different groups or like leading a protest, using social media. So I thought it was a really good way to show like positive ways like the teens can speak out and use their voices. So yeah, those are my book recommendations. I highly recommend all of them. I thought they were all super great and empowering and inspiring, and they definitely got me worked up a lot, as you know, politics tends to do for people. But you know, even though like I was feeling some kind of way, they all, like I said, they're all empowering, and they all left me feeling better about things, I guess, and just feeling like kind of more like hopeful. And so yeah, hopefully you can read them and also, you know, get inspired. But that's it for today. If you can, please go out and vote tomorrow, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.